Forgot. We're recording.
Yay.
You want our eyes closed?
So, yeah. So go ahead and get super comfortable. Close your eyes. Do any little micro adjustments to make sure that you're feeling absolutely comfortable and relaxed. And now envision yourself as a tree with your root, and you're next to your partner. Your partner is also a tree, and your partner has a root, that central core root that's going down. And imagine and feel that tap root going down into the soil of the earth, down through the foundation of the building where you are, down through the stones and the soil. And the taproot of your partner is right next to you, and they're beginning to twist together. And so your taproots are twisting together down into the earth, down through the layers of earth, down through the water tables, down through the minerals and gems and jewels, and down into the warmth of the pressure and magma and lava in the core of the earth. Down, all the way to the center of the earth. And you can feel your taproots expanding out and feeling as an anchor at the center, at the core of the earth. And with that deep grounding, you can feel the core energy and spirit coming up from the center of the earth, up through your core, up through your channel, out through your crown chakra, opening up to the heavens, to the stars, to our atmosphere and planet. And like a tree, you're bringing in all of that cosmic energy through your core. And like a well-rooted tree, you have your history, and your timeline goes differently than the mundane, daily things. Let all of that go and take yourself back to the beginning of our journey, which was at the spring equinox. And how at that time we were just beginning to explore the assessment, the initiation, figuring out, what is it that we have here? And we were, talking about our work table and laying things out and figuring out, what is it that we have here? And then as the season was moving closer to summer, we went into communications. And we started working together with relationship evolving dyads and hearing each other, feeling each other. And then the summer was coming closer, the spring was getting warmer, and we got into conflict resolution. And we talked about all of the different tools that we have. NVC, nonviolent communication, the 5 love languages. And we felt into the different languages that we have to eliminate the conflict that happens, the tension. And then as summer was coming on, we moved into the spiritual realms. And we did ritual. And we especially did the sex magic ritual because that was our deep creation. Feel into that. And then as we moved into the summer, we went into the intellectual realms. And we redid our vows to each other, our marriage vows. And then as the summer was warm and deep, we moved into the emotional and romance. And we talked about our emotional weather reports. And we felt into how we were feeling, how our partner was feeling. And then as we were coming to the warm end of summer, that deep, passionate sex and physical. And we put together our bucket lists so that we could explore that within ourselves and within our partners. Then as the fall was coming, we began to prepare ourselves by financially looking at our finances, our money. And we went over our finances and we thought about, whether we were spenders or savers or financial monks or accountants. And we thought about our partners too and their relationship to money and our relationship together around money. And then as fall was starting to deepen and as we were coming closer to the fall equinox, the autumn equinox, we started feeling into our family and our tribe. Who is it that supports us? And at that time, we forgave ourselves for any of the homework that we didn't do, and we did a redo. We looked back at all of the homework from all of the other ones, and we chose one. And we gave ourselves permission to have procrastinated and missed, and realized that the reason we did that was because we're human. And then as winter was coming on, we started talking about our lifestyle. And as we were getting ready to go into our hibernation, we talked about one lifestyle challenge that maybe had been plaguing us during our relationship. And we chose and created a new way of handling that relationship challenge or lifestyle challenge. And then as we came into the holidays and the new year, we came into future orientation. And we talked about our relationships as a ship. As a ship and how we navigate that ship. The tools that we have, to carry us forward. And we realized how much momentum we have as this, with the ship and the direction that it's moving forward. And we looked at the tools that we have for navigating, for tracking where we are. And now we come into this amazing time in history and this amazing time in our relationship where we have come to where we are, by the navigation, by all of the tools, by all of the love, by all of the contemplation, all of the ritual, all of these things that we've done, over this year and, over the lifetimes of our relationships and prior relationships and our lives. And we've come into this place of grounding, where we are currently, and we're reassessing and we're celebrating with our commencement. And we feel that grounding tap anchor root that is so deeply, deeply braided and entwined with our partner. And we feel it coming up and we let it release from the center of the earth. We let it untangle and we bring it back up with some deep breaths. And we let it untangle from our partner so that we come back into ourselves as the entity that we are. We become ourself, but we continue to have that feeling of knowledge, that knowing that we have that deep, deep connection with our partner and that we can access that anytime as we pull our root up, back up into ourselves. And then we leave ourselves grounded where we sit. We start to shift our base. We move our shoulders, roll our shoulders back. We feel our fingers and our toes. And we feel into what is the most formative thing that came up in this meditation. And if you can crystallize that into words so that you can share with our group. Go ahead and open your eyes and welcome back.
Thank you.
It was nice having my root tangled around your root.
So I'm curious about the, not just formative, but most transformative. When we articulate it for the group, it's like a declaration that this is something that's really valuable that I want to presence, for ourselves and for everyone. Who wants to share first? Greg.
The thing that kept coming up for me, as Michael was kind of walking through the year was the word focus. And, every single tool, every topic that we covered gave us a different type of lens to focus. And And I think relative to where we were a year ago, our relationship is very different, or looks very different now than it did, a year ago. So the thing that I think was most transformative for me through the whole process really was the container and the lenses around it that allow us to focus on each other, with each other. Whereas a year ago, I felt like a lot of that was deflected or spread out. So there's a focus. It's almost like a sphere with a prism on it, where everything's getting focused inside instead of reflected outside.
Got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Lisa? Not ready to share? Pass. Okay, good. So I'll expand the question. This is our kind of opening circle, and I'd love to hear from everybody. And it doesn't have to answer that question specifically. It can just be like, this is what's alive for me after Michael took us on a deep review of the year. What's with you? What's in your heart? Greg.
Yeah, when I was feeling into that whole review and kind of going around the wheel of the seasons, what struck me was how comprehensive this was, even from the very beginning with the assessment and stepping back and looking at all those different 8 areas, and that was what was needed for me. Like, to piecemeal different parts of a relationship would have very little lasting value. I think it would be very much a Band-Aid. But what I'm really grateful for is how not only this container of safety and love that we've created as a community, but the comprehensive approach that we took to looking at month after month, home play after home play, all those different lenses that Greg was talking about. So the comprehensiveness is the biggest thing that I'm taking away. And the holistic nature of what we did. And the one thing that kind of keeps coming up as I was working on our some retooling, resetting of our goals with this whole situation that we're in is the 3 levels of personal, interpersonal, and transpersonal, and how fundamental it is to work on that personal first to get that solid root, to then to be able to expand into the interpersonal and the transpersonal. So yeah, that's what's present for me right now.
Great. Yeah, thanks. What else is alive?
I'll go. What was alive for me during that was, first of all, how ridiculously complex relationships are, but then it kind of went into how everything has 20 layers to it. And, I've written a couple books about relationships, and I feel like I've just touched the surface. So that was one thing. And also the kind of the ridiculousness of monogamy struck me as well. How can one person satisfy these 20 different layers and have them all be like juggling 20 balls in the air? And being able to honestly look at that and at least share with your partner where you're at, requires so many things. So that showed up, but also how much it helped to be part of a group that was going through similar struggles, because especially in the poly world, you don't get a chance to hear that much about people's struggles. I do counseling, so I hear about monogamous struggles, but poly struggles are a little bit different. And each of those had a poly aspect to it that made it even more complicated than monogamy. So I was realizing how much I'd gotten from hearing about other people's situations and feeling less separate because of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next?
I'm struck by how little of the homework we did, which is entirely me. No, I think today I'm sort of, what's with me is like the fact that it's actually been a really hard year for us relationally. Yeah, and it just kind of feels like it's come to a point of like almost like relational exhaustion, I guess. And I was just kind of sitting with the different pieces and seeing what I actually think would be fulfilling. Like what pieces of the homework haven't we done that would be refilling, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that's a good inquiry for everybody. So thank you. James, did you want to share next?
Sure. Yeah, as I was reflecting on the year, like on the positive side, what I noticed was that our relationship feels more honest than it did a year ago. And on the negative side, it feels harder and I think in many ways less connected. And I think like I have a sort of feeling of defeatedness. Like I feel like I've kind of tried as much as I can try and like done all the things that I know how to do and asked for the things that I maybe don't know how to do so that I'd be informed of those and tried those and like I think I'm just kind of at a place where I'm like needing to see if Sharmila's wanting to be in this relationship enough to kind of have things go differently. And I hope the answer is yes. But there's definitely like just a heaviness that I have been in and then woke up in this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for the honesty. Good. Who's next? So in the void of that, I want to share, there's a level 2 teaching about hopelessness in relationship. And it's like the dark night of the soul for any growth, where we actually don't get to real transformation if we don't totally give up. Like we have to give everything up before the next quantum piece is available. So I actually look at it as very hopeful when somebody says, I'm despondent because I've tried everything and nothing works anymore. So I just wanted to infuse a little bit of hope into the into the interpretation of what you've shared, James. So thank you.
Yeah, and another map of that is that the spiral, which is death and rebirth. And death and rebirth doesn't mean, it has to be death, complete death. The French kings would, and the kings back of old, they would say, the king is dead, long live the king. And what they were saying was, that as soon as the king died, the new king is already there. Whether it's the son or whoever the heir is, it's already born immediately. And so it's a spiral. It's not an end. There is no end.
Yeah, which is, I think, what we're saying when we're calling this a commencement, or what a commencement is. It's a graduation, but it's the beginning.
It's the beginning,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why commencement.
Yeah. But thanks for speaking into that dark, scary place that we get to, which is we've tried everything and it's not working. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to resume our circle and see who wants to share next.
Yeah.
Lisa.
I was sharing the other day something about how I feel like we're all in a play and someone changed the backdrop scenery on us. And we're kind of like saying the lines that were in the play before with this actors that were there, but the whole scenery is different. And we're kind of like, so that's how I'm feeling in a large part. It's just a really weird time to be assessing or to be even looking back on this year. And here we are in this sort of final month with like, let's just take you off this planet and put you on this other planet. And let's just see, in many ways, Greg is thriving because he's an introvert and he's just fucking loving all of this. And I'm not hating it, but, I'm an extrovert. So, I have different needs. And, and our kid, we have a 14-year-old, very smart and self-aware young lady who is all up in our business. And I mean, she's super self-directed, and it's not like, it doesn't feel like a burden. It's just this presence. It's like, there's this new sort of like, we're 3 roommates. We have a cleaning schedule. Like there's this whole new sort of thing that's emerged. And so I feel like, it's really hard for me to look, I'm looking through my book and everything. It's really hard for me to like land on it, because it just feels like, when did we do all that? Like what, because this context looks so, feels so different than where we were. So it's really, I don't know. That's what I have to share.
Yeah, thanks for speaking into it. It's very, very alive, very real. What else is alive? Marina.
Hi, everyone. What came up during that journey that Michael took us on, I mean, there were highlights and breakthroughs with different themes, but the one that really stood out was the ship and navigating this river, the different scenery, like Lisa's saying. So, but having these pillars, the 4 pillars, I remember, it's like what unites us, what are our strengths, and then the rest will, change. But being flexible with that, that's what stands out, is like the amount of flexibility and leveraging on each other's strengths together and with community together. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to add one more thing. Like, this is the weekend we were all supposed to be here, celebrating and big cuddle puddle together. And it's not different reality for all of us. But it's also a very significant weekend of the rebirth, the Ishtar weekend. So it feels like it's an end, and it's always a little, I don't know, to me, I don't like endings. It's always a little sad of like, oh, I didn't do this right, or I could have done this better, or I could have connected with more people one-on-one. And in reality, like, this is also a new beginning for us and for all of us. So yeah, I really want to remind us of that.
Yeah, I woke up this morning thinking how different it would have been if we were all waking up together here today.
Yeah.
How juicy that would have been. And, a little bit of sweet sadness because looking forward to that. But at the same time, accepting everything is perfect and it's exactly what's needed right now.
Thank you, Greg. It was such a generous invitation. And it's sort of like in the multiverse, in some other parallel place, we're all together cuddling. Yeah. Michael, did you want to share next? Or I think we have Kirsten or Renee. Yeah. Who we have? We have okay, Renee first. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Unfortunately, there's a barking dog in the background because we have repair people out back. I think what I want to focus on, I think I very much relate to kind of where you are, James, with really feeling spent and like not much left, and I don't want to speak for Todd, but that's my impression where he's at as well. He can speak to it, but so I really want to let the last year go and not revisit what we did or didn't do, but more look at, okay, if we're at the beginning and we've spent what we've spent and have nothing left, where do we want to choose to go from here? And see if from that place, like, we can find the things that would, fill us back up, or not even fill us back up, but create the new, because neither one of us are who we were 12 years ago when we got together, or a year ago when we started this journey. And there's been a lot of things that have happened, and none of those things matter. What matters to me is being able to show up right here, right now, and say who we are today. Can we love each other? Can we have a life together? Do we have enough? Are we interested and curious enough in each other to build something new? And that's what really came up for me.
Well said.
I'll go. As I was going through the journey, and I got to the part about the ship and how we navigate with this ship, I I of course thought about the coronavirus and how it had affected people on ships, and I was wondering about that. I thought, what, like, like I love going on cruises, and I understand, one of the reasons that I love it is we're there with a lot of people. We're there with our community. And I'm thinking about our relationships are much like that. The ship that is our relationship exists because we are social creatures. We need other people. And, I was really like feeling into that. The place that we are as a culture right now, we have almost like the social distancing is almost like a fear of other people. Like it's pushing us apart, when what the healthiest thing for us is actually to be together, that we need each other. And I was feeling into that with Kamala Devi, that we have this bond that is so strong, and so beautiful, and it's so needed. Like I couldn't exist, without that. And when Greg was saying that he really loved, going, or that Lisa was saying that Greg really loved the quarantine because of his introversion. I felt the same thing when it first happened. I felt the stillness that was so beautiful, and I was questioning myself. I'm like, wow, I guess that is the introvert part of me. But even as an introvert, we still are social creatures. I still am, and I just have so much need for having that support, of Kamala Devi and of my tribe. So yeah, so that was what like came up. I also felt the vastness of the season, that we've gone through a year together, and what does that mean in my life? Just like a tree, may go through thousands of years. The big redwoods can live for thousands of years. And what is that? Like, what is a season to a tree, and what is a season to us? And that we've gone through so much, in this season. Yeah.
Is there more personally you wanted to share? Okay, I'm going to share next, and and I wanted to see if you wanted to share anything about Taina, because I don't want to reveal.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Taina and I had a breakup yesterday. Yeah. And, my feelings are just like anything, they're mixed, and I'm going through those processes of mourning. I'm going through that mourning process. And the main feelings are sadness and liberation. That we broke up because we had, there were things that, it was better for us to be broken up. And there's also sadness losing that, that part. But yeah. Yeah. So I'm going through that process right now. So thank you for, yeah.
Okay, I can share next, unless either Todd or I think we heard from Marina, so I think it's just
also Kirsten,
yeah. Do either of you want to share next? Kirsten next. Yay.
Yeah, I think what's up for me is just feeling like everybody's grief, and I share and a lot of similar feelings. to Lisa and Renee and Sharmila, and just feeling the freeze response. You know, I woke up today and I was like, oh my God, I've been having a temper tantrum, and all my stuff is up, and my inner teenager is really like fighting this quarantine hard, like really, really hard. And I wanted to give voice to that. And it's just, it feels like we're in this collective incubator, and I've been through several of these in my lifetime, and I'm like, God damn it, I don't want to have to go through this again. And just trying to have some hopefulness about everybody's life path. I mean, I can really feel it for the collective. And so Jonathan and I have had a few good conversations over the last couple of days, and I really appreciate the moments we can be really honest with each other and just sort of hold each other in that negative space or whatever it is we're going through. And I appreciate the ability to really just be present with me while I do this teenager temper tantrum. So thank you.
It's really sweet to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, would you like to go?
I'm acutely aware of how I stay grounded or attached. And the last year I've experienced really transformational growth in relationships with Renee and with Lori in uncomfortable ways. And as my body has forsaken me in this process, my ability to stay grounded is not as much envisioning in nature as actually being in it. And being fully immersed with my body in nature in ways that are similar to how you might experience it when you're out paddling, Mike. And that's gone. It's taken away from me, and I feel totally unhinged and totally unattached. And so particularly as social walls have closed because of the tactical realities of global pandemic, not having a place to go to resource myself has gotten harder and harder. And so I am anticipatory of a transformational rebirth. But right now it feels like everything that would allow that to happen has been placed inconveniently out of reach.
I feel you. Thank you. So I want to start my share by disclaiming we did yoga in a new spot. I'm having an allergic reaction to the grass. And I noticed, I was sneezing in the grass in public and just it feels unacceptable to be human and to be, allergic or to be fallible or unwell. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I feel shame about sniffling on in this, even our safe little group, and I wanted to speak into that. I'm really touched by everyone's share. When I try to feel as personally as possible, I know that when when circumstances are hard, the person who both I rely on my people more, and I can also be harsher on them or harder to live with. You know, I'm aware of that. I know that it's a time in which we want to, you know, be sweet and nurture each other more. I know that was a theme of last week. We were like, let's be really playful and fun and pleasurable. And I feel that that's just a really tall ask. And especially as Michael shared, because we're having a, you know, yet another relationship transition. When I look at the year, you know, I appreciated this idea of like, if we're trees, a year is a ring, you know, it's like, oh, that's one ring. And sometimes they're big growth rings, and sometimes they're tiny ones. And this was a big growth ring. And half of that year, you know, I spent in new relationship energy, kind of head over heels for someone, and went through the breakup of that. But I look at it and it's like this year, it's almost been a full year that Michael's been with Taina. And I look at all the work that we've been doing, and, you know, I know they've done their own sex magic, and they've done their own dyads, and they've done, you know, I'm just reflecting on this last year was really a part of it being such a big growth year, is the growth that Michael did with her. And it, you know, it's really sweet and tender and beautiful, you know, the growth that was for our family. And it's vulnerable and scary to be like, you know, without James and Sharmila, like, we don't even know when we're going to see each other again. So like right now, Michael and I are really monogamous. And we know that this feels better than it's ever felt. But it doesn't feel good to not have other lovers. And I want Michael to have a local other lover, like, at least, you know, like, and I feel like I've failed him again because their separation is no small part due to my jealousy and my inability to communicate with her. And it's a co-creation, you know, I'm not saying it's all my fault, but I know that, you know, where I have other sustainable relationships and he's maintained a lot of harmony with my other lovers, I don't have a good track record of that to like celebrate, to say, you know, look, I'm a good metamor. So I think one of my takeaways in this honest moment is that I really want to work on like being able to share my husband better, because I don't have a whole lot of like I can't proudly say, you know, other than maybe Rhea, you know, I can't proudly say, oh look, you know, I've got Michael has a lot of other people he shares me with, and I'm very proud of that, and I'd like to be able to be as generous as you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what's alive for me. And it is relevant to the year review because it's been, you know, a year we've been dancing with her. And then this commencement means we're closing with her at this point. And I'm looking forward to, you know, the unknown, what it's going to look like on the other side of that. And I'm complete with my share for now.
We have monogamy, but we'll get better soon. Kind of like the coronavirus.
So as we're wrapped our opening circle, are there any PSs or amendments before we move on? Jonathan?
A lighter note, I've been wondering how Michael's hair is so short and how he managed to get a haircut.
You know, that's a really great question. I got my hair cut.
It's very deep, I understand.
Yeah. There's a Chinese lady over here that does haircuts, but there's always a big line. They're super cheap, and it's a block away from the house. And the line is always really long. But right when the coronavirus lockdown happened, I walked by and she was doing them. And there's nobody there. And so I jumped in, I got my hair cut. And so it was the last, I got the last haircut before haircuts were no longer a thing.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comedy relief. I think we needed it. Yeah.
Although I hear that Flowbees are making a comeback.
What's a Flowbee?
It's a home one. It's a vacuum cleaner with a trimmer on it.
So it pulls your hair into the tube, and then it chops it.
No, don't do that.
It was all the rage.
In the 80s, it was there with Chia Pets. It was one of those infomercials.
Sharmila was too high society for that.
I've already given 2 haircuts since quarantine started, so
yeah. Sweet. So I wanted to see if there's any.
Hey, Greg has got.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I have a big PS. We kind of let the cat out of the bag that we're fast tracking our relationship into figuring out how we can get married when they open up the for that.
Yeah.
And along with that has come some really intense conversations with her ex.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to restructure a family with Jasmine's dad and her whole family and my family. So that part's been easy, but with him, there's a lot of baggage, a lot of history, a lot of stuff there. So there's a big part of me that's like super excited about this, but also super like uncertain with how and if we're going to work something out with him. So that's really heavy on my mind right now. I'm talking to him tomorrow, one-on-one.
And is that your first conversation with him, one-on-one?
First one-on-one, yeah.
Great, good. Yeah, so co-parenting, in and of itself is a complex dance.
Todd is.
Can I speak to that, Greg? If for any reason you need any kind of moral support, staying the high ground in any of what can come up as you navigate through that process, I am right here for you, brother.
Oh, sweet. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, even having a conversation with Todd to get your pregame for it might be a good idea to get the right mindset and frame and preparation for it. That's great.
I don't know what the situation is, but I've seen pretty decent amount of tough sailing in this kind of circumstance. And there's some things that make it easier and some things that don't. So if you run into some of the things that don't on your own and feel like you want some reflection, just like I said, let me know, man.
Thank you, brother.
It's a beautiful offer.
So when we move towards completion, we're going to have a fun little closing circle. But before we do that, I want to plant the seed. Michael did this spontaneously. It was kind of beautiful. He did this seasonal review. And I want to encourage you to take the solstices and the equinoxes as milestones, as opportunities to tune in and check in. We're not going to have our bi-monthly, group gatherings, but for the two of you to say, let's do a deeper review. Maybe it's pull out one of the tools like the dyads or even just, have hey, let's have a special date where we can just have a heart-to-heart in a state of a relationship check-in. The beauty of the solstices and the equinoxes and I've shared this before, but it's like, it takes us off the microcosm of like, how we're, instead of thinking how we're doing now, or it's not working, or this or that, like on an ongoing basis. And it's like, hey, let's, look at the milestone. And at that point we can get hindsight and look back and kind of plan for the next season, what we could do better. So it takes us off the kind of micro adjusting. A lot of times couples can over process or over analyze or just, like it takes the fun out of the living and the loving. And so if you do a deep state of relationship check-in I guess that's quarterly, it creates a higher level, of functioning. And then a year is too long. It's like some people who say, oh, it's our anniversary, let's review our relationship. At that point, it's like, well, wow, some patterns really get ingrained or atrophy, or, it's nice to be course correcting at the quarterly review. It's just highly functioning. And I know that a lot of you are entrepreneurs and business people, so you're used to doing that with your business, but it's very powerful. I've got another couple that I coach, and they happen to be couples coaches. So what they do is a quarterly actual retreat. And if they, right now they're doing it in quarantine, but sometimes they go away for a weekend and they do deep relationship reviews. And so it's an invitation for you in this coming year to say, let's make each season sacred, and let's really do something. And then you guys can co-create what that something is, whether it's sex magic or any of the tools that we've offered. Did you want to add anything to that invitation? Okay. And some of you I know do something like that already. My hope is that this course enhances that process because you have a bigger toolbox. You can go through, your notebook and say, ooh, what are the ones that really worked for us? Let's do that. And then I also really want to encourage us to maintain, I hope these are lifetime friendships that we can stay connected as I know Todd offered, but I personally want to say, we're available to, sessions in the future, or just check-ins or updates, any celebrations you want to share. The group will remain open and private, so you guys are always welcome to communicate with each other there. But I highly encourage you to, it doesn't matter how long, even if it's been a very long time, to reach out and say, hey, you came up in my meditation. Take the spontaneous initiation to reach out to each other. And so our closing circle, we thought this would be a nice way to kind of bond us as a group. We've all seen each other grow in this last year. And so I'm going to invite us, and it's a little bit random the way it works, but I'm going to choose someone in the group who I have seen them grow, and I'm going to choose one thing about them and acknowledge them. So it's like an appreciation circle. I'm going to acknowledge something I've seen them grow this year, and then they receive that appreciation publicly. Then they choose somebody else to appreciate for their growth, or just appreciate something about them. But ideally, it's like something you've noticed in their growth. And then they'll pick the next person and the next person until we've gone all the way around the circle. So you want to keep it brief and random. So I'll start. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start with Todd. I actually am impressed with your listening and synthesizing, because I see through the year, that you, especially because you are so brilliant with a lot of your own ideas through the year, I've seen you become more receptive, more attuned, not just to Renee, but to the group. And I'm really touched with it's almost like a humility that has come through the year, where you've gotten more and more, like you've hollowed out in a humble way and received so much. It's really quite beautiful. Something I value a lot. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say thank you, and then I'm gonna express my appreciation to Greg. Greg, Jones.
Which Greg?
Rex or Cherney?
Cherney. Because I am also somewhat more inclined to be a little more introverted. And so to have somebody who I felt like, well, I'm very reserved, and then to see someone who might even be a little more reserved than me, and then to sort of be able to gently move a little less from the shadow, and to have Greg there sort of mentoring me sometimes, and then sometimes, I don't know, there was an energy around having Greg in the group with me that allowed me to step forward more in a way that I might not have otherwise. Thank you, Greg.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, as I think about this, you know, I really appreciate Todd's comment, and I actually had a similar experience through Sharmila. And yeah, earlier you had made a comment that you know, you were aware of how little you did homework wise, and that may be the case. You know, that may be your experience, but I do feel compelled to let you know about the impact that you had. You know, the comments that you've made, the times that you've spoken up, rang true for me in a lot of cases. You know, you came into this with complete authenticity and vulnerability, and I had a similar experience where, after hearing you speak and hearing how vulnerable you are, there were times where I was like, oh, I gotta step up my game a little bit with the authenticity, you know, and the vulnerability. So I just wanted to say thank you for the vulnerability and the authenticity that you shared. You made an impact for me.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna acknowledge Michael. Hold on, I'm gonna switch so I can see you. There we go. Yeah, I think mostly watching you as a teacher throughout the year. Like, I know that you've obviously done teaching and things like that in the past, but watching you sort of feel more confident and take a little bit more space. And also just like knowing that you're pursuing that in your life as a whole, and like really devoting yourself to, your wife is, you know, a pretty big figure in a lot of ways, and just like watching you come into your own has been sweet.
Thank you. Yeah. Wow, so many great choices. I'm like, wow, it's like a box of chocolates. I'm like, which one do I want to acknowledge? I want to acknowledge Jonathan. I've seen you this year, like really stepping into your relationship in a way that is super refreshing because you also are with a woman who's very deeply spiritual and has spends a lot of time in that in the other realms, and it's just been lovely to watch your acceptance of the direction that the relationship is going and your strength in really holding it feels like you're holding this cauldron for a very powerful witch that you're in relationship with, and you're doing it so beautifully. I know that you have a lot of training and a lot of things that you've written and I know that those, it feels to me like those are not, you're really walking the walk or walking the talk of who you are. And I've seen that as I've watched you, developing your relationship over this year. Mm-hmm. So thank you. It's been really awesome for me to watch that.
That was beautiful, Michael. Thank you. That was really sweet. Tiki, you can't appreciate your own partner in this exercise, can you?
Go for it. I'm not going to say no. Anybody have an objection?
Something I know at times this has been challenging for you, but this year you're so committed to being yourself and being on fire and being you. We've known each other 20 years, and at times you were hiding and not letting your full self out. And I see that you're being very brave in being fully you, and that's your job. And sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. but it doesn't really matter because that's your job and you're doing it. And it's humbling and inspiring for me and sometimes scary. But that shift of committing to who you are is just awesome to watch.
Oh.
Oh.
I want to appreciate Greg Rex. Just seeing how much over this year you've really gone for what you've wanted in terms of your relationship with Marina and taken on some very challenging external circumstances. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell are they going to do about that? I'm like, how is this even going to work? About the physicality. And I was thinking earlier, I was seeing you guys at the cabin and I was like, how did you guys even get a flight? Have you been stuck in quarantine this whole time together? Or what all the practicalities of working out a deep, loving relationship with two people who are coming from different cultures and countries, and there's kids involved, and I don't even know all of the whole new story because I haven't talked to you guys in a while, but just how your ability to put all those pieces of the puzzle together and really seeing how much love you two have for each other in the moments that I'm present and able to see that. And you're really trying to go for what you want and make this work. And I admire that. It's impressive under these kinds of circumstances. So you too for
Oh.
for making that work.
Mm.
Thank you for recognizing that. Ooh, this is hard, Michael, because everyone on this call has touched me in a way. Seems like just at the right time too, when I needed it, because there's been some tough times this year. And the general.
Pause for a second. Are you acknowledging Michael?
No.
Okay,
No.
good.
I was just saying how many beautiful people there are.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, great. But I just want to say you can only acknowledge, each person gets one acknowledgement. So you haven't chosen who you're acknowledging yet.
Just acknowledging the group, but this is the same thing I want to say to Renee. I want to acknowledge Renee.
Oh, great.
Is courage and commitment. And I want to say that both is the courage that I've seen you express on these calls to be really transparent and authentic and what Todd was talking about, and your commitment to yourself, your commitment to your staying true to yourself, and also this deep commitment that I can see between you and Todd, how you're pouring your heart into supporting him in this difficult time. And at the same time, just still holding on to who you are and not losing that in the process of trying to be in support of him, the person you love so much. And I've been impressed by also your poly capacity to really appreciate his other lover. Yeah. And it really inspires me to see the compersion that you have and the connection that you've made with her, and that you're a great role model for me, because you're the total female package. You've got the strong, successful businesswoman. You've got the capacity to communicate. You've got the conscious way of thinking. And I've never seen you really drop below the line and go into poor me or victim mode. And I really honor your strength and your courage.
Thank you very much, Greg. That blows me away and touches my heart. I really I want to acknowledge Lisa. Lisa, during this year, I saw you step up and prioritize your relationship with Greg and give up some things that had meaning for you, but really say, this relationship is more important. And even though you could tell how hard that was for you, but just your strength and your commitment, both to what was true to you and true and important to you, was just a beautiful reminder and just really touching. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Renee. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, and it means a lot coming to you, because I have a mutual admiration for you as well. I want to appreciate James. I really loved watching your intellectual brain work out emotional things and your just your candidness, and you're willing to go there. Every time you showed up, you were willing to go there, wherever you were. Wherever you needed to go, you're willing to go there, and to share with such vulnerability about what's coming up for you personally in your own journey. And then as it relates to Sharmila and holding space for your relationship, I just, I'm aware of your entrepreneur aspect of your life, which I have very much presence in my life. And so I also appreciated you kind of the shares that you your willingness to also kind of bring that into this whole thing, like look at it holistically, your life and your relationship. And I learned a lot from listening to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Left.
Marina and Kamala Debbie.
I go last. You gotta.
He has to choose Marina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not muted, right?
No,
Okay.
I was gonna try to make it so you could see her, but I don't see her.
Wait, she's.
He's behind Greg. I see her.
She was on the other screen, so I couldn't see. I think two things that sort of first come to mind. One is just your eagerness for which to dive into this kind of work. And this was largely true of you and Greg, but it was just like every opportunity, there seemed to be such a willingness and excitement to dive in as deeply as possible. And I think you guys probably did more of the homework than anyone else.
Maybe tonight.
Charlotte says maybe more than everyone else combined. Yeah, and so I appreciate the enthusiasm and the commitment and the willingness to show up to such a full extent, and also knowing that wasn't easy. You guys have had some challenging circumstances, and to have continually shown up to the extent you did was pretty impressive. And I also just want to sort of acknowledge and appreciate how beautiful it's been to watch your guys' relationship develop.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being totally honest, when I first heard about it, and I'm like, oh, you guys have known each other for 3 weeks and you've decided that you're now in a lifelong partnership despite living on opposite sides of the continent and a whole series of things. I was like, that's not going to work out well. And so to watch a year later and see that you guys have actually been navigating it successfully, and that you've had this opportunity to quarantine together, and the way that seems to have deepened the love and the connection between you, and moves towards trying to actually cohabitate indefinitely. It's just been really beautiful to see how your guys' relationship has unfolded.
Yay.
Yeah.
I think you should have James speak at your wedding.
I'm gonna go for 3 weeks.
Thank you so much, James. Very, very sweet, nectar through the heart. And thank you so much. Okay, KD. We're on. I want to honor you and celebrate you and how much space you held for all of us, and how much space you can hold within all of you and all the dimensions that you can navigate into. Your incredible inspiration, an incredible inspiration to the magnitude of the highest realms possible that you can capture, and then you go to the microcosmos of your own work, and to be able to open up and be so vulnerable and honor all of your emotions and feelings without denying them. I think that's that's part of the brilliance of how you express that so beautifully through your words, your wisdom, your books, and your teachings. It's an experiential knowledge that you provide, and then that we experience with you.
Mm.
Thank you so much for your beautiful, immense heart and your devotion to humanity.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. It's been such an honor, really deeply, for you to trust, all of you to trust Michael and I. And I think we told you this transparently in the beginning, but this really came out of a selfish seed of like, hey, we want to improve we want to take our love to the next level. So we're going to teach what we most need to learn, and who are the people that are most resonant with the deep work that we're doing. And you guys all showed up. So, from the bottom of our heart, it was an honor to be trusted, but it's also thank you for providing the cauldron for our growth as well. Like, it was so mutually beneficial for us. Thank you. Yeah, so that concludes our course. You can move your tassel to the other side and throw your hat up into the air. Woohoo! Love you guys.
What's everyone doing today?
Well, we're going to go and see our parents. We're going to see Kamala Devi's mom and my mom. My mom's in a nursing home, so we can't go physically see her. So we're going to go out to the outside of her window.
We're going to wave.
And we're going to just talk to her through her window.
Yeah.
From the outside. And then her mom, we're going to go and just do social distancing get together.
I can tell you what we won't be doing today, Greg. We won't be taking any turns. No fresh pouty turns today.
Oh.
I would have really liked to have gotten out for some turns this afternoon.
Nice.
No fresh powder this weekend anyways, bro.
What can you do?
We're putting on hazmat suits and getting some tomatoes to plant.
Killer tomatoes.
Killer tomato.
Oh.
We have Stacy coming into quarantine with us later today. So I think we're getting the house.
Our
ready for
monogamy
that.
is ending. His monogamy is ending.
Yeah. A lover driving in from Portland via Los Angeles.
Who's also been quarantining for a while, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do a distanced Easter hunt with my nephew.
Oh, cute. All right. Blessings, everyone.
Happy Easter. Love you.
Hey guys, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Everyone.